It was 9:43 p.m. when Claire kissed my cheek, grabbed her overnight bag, and told me she was staying at Haley's place. Girl time, she said, keys jingling in her hand. We're gonna binge that terrible dating show and eat too much Thai food. I nodded, half watching the game, half wondering if I should have offered to drive her. She didn't want me to. That was the first crack. Claire never used to take that bag unless we were going away. It was the silver one, the one I bought her on our anniversary in Barcelona. Oversized for sleepovers, perfect for getaways. I remember thinking, since when does she need all that just to crash with a friend across town? She left before I could ask. At 10:17, Haley called. Hey, she said, voice unsure. Is Claire okay? I muted the TV. Yeah, why? She just texted me saying she's staying here tonight. But she never asked. She's not here. Why would she tell you that? I stood. Blood left my legs. You're sure? I asked. Positive. I've been home all night. Alone. I thanked her, hung up, and just stood there. Cold in the gut. Not anger. Not panic. Just clarity. A window opening in my mind I'd kept shut for months. Claire was lying. I didn't call her. I didn't text. Instead, I sat down at my desk, opened my password manager, and logged into the shared cell plan. I needed data, not guesses. She was headed west. I tracked the pings, first downtown, then a small turnoff past the freeway, then nothing for 15 minutes. Dead zone or silence. At 10:39, a single ping came in near the Willow Crest condominiums. Not Haley's neighborhood. I pulled up the address. Gated. Mid-range. Mostly young professionals. Nothing remarkable, except for one thing. That complex? That's where her coworker, Daniel, lived. Daniel, 34, divorced last year, worked in her department, the guy I used to joke about. The guy she said was just chill and not her type. The guy who, now that I thought about it, always managed to comment on her stories within 60 seconds of her posting them. I stared at the map, at the little dot that marked the tower. Then I closed it. I wasn't going there. Not yet. Instead, I opened my folder labeled Claire. Hidden, buried deep. I'd started it 6 months ago. Not because I was suspicious then, but because I believed too much. And believing too much makes you blind. The folder held screenshots, nothing damning. Just odd charges, changed passwords, little patterns I couldn't explain. Claire had become private. Not just private, encrypted. New locks on her phone. Silent glances when she thought I wasn't looking. The laughter that stopped when I walked into the room. Until tonight, I hadn't acted on any of it. But that call from Haley? That shifted the ground. I stayed up until 2 a.m., pulling threads. I checked our shared accounts. No large withdrawals. I checked her social media. No new posts. I checked Daniel's too, locked down. But I found something else. A Venmo transaction from 2 days ago. From Claire to Daniel. Pizza emoji. Fire emoji. No caption. I remembered what Claire had for dinner 2 nights ago. She said she was at a girls' wine night. She came home buzzed. Smiling. Same bag. The next morning she said she'd had too much and left her scarf behind. I checked her side of the closet. No scarf missing. By 2:15 a.m. I wasn't confused anymore. I was certain, but I didn't call. Didn't confront. Instead, I left my phone on the charger, walked to the kitchen, and poured myself a glass of water. Cold. Clear. Final. At 2:43 a.m., she came home. Keys in the lock. Quiet. Careful. I stood in the kitchen, back to the sink, glass in hand. She froze when she saw me. Hey, she said. Didn't expect you to still be up. I nodded. How was Haley's? Her mouth twitched. Good. We didn't sleep much. Talked all night. I took a slow sip of water. Funny. She called me around 10. Said you weren't there. She blinked. Wait, what? She was worried. Thought maybe something happened. Claire's expression didn't break immediately. She went still. That's when I knew she'd rehearsed a lie, but not a backup. I stopped by another friend's place first, she said too quickly. You know Casey? Haley didn't know. I forgot to tell her. Right, I said. Casey. She nodded, too many times. I was going to text, but my phone died. It was stupid. I walked past her, slow, deliberate, and placed my glass in the sink. Didn't slam. Didn't yell. Go to bed, I said. We'll talk in the morning. She hesitated. Are you mad? I turned. Not mad. Just not stupid. Then I walked into the den and closed the door. Behind it, I opened a new document. The first line I typed, Wednesday. Claire lied about Haley. Beneath it, I added the date, time, and every detail I could remember. I wasn't going to guess anymore. I was going to build a case. And when I moved, like always, I'd only need to do it once. The next morning, Claire acted like nothing happened. She made coffee, French press, the kind I liked. She even toasted sourdough, cut up strawberries, and placed everything perfectly on the table like it was a scene out of a magazine. I didn't touch it. She sat across from me, sipping like she wasn't unraveling. I know last night looked bad, she started. Her voice was too soft, too measured, but I swear it wasn't what you think. I didn't reply, because I wasn't thinking anymore. I was executing. I stayed at Casey's. Haley didn't know because it was last minute. She smiled. Casey's phone was dead. Mine too. We just talked. Casey moved to Oregon in April, I said flatly. Her face cracked. I didn't push. I stood, took a photo of the untouched breakfast, and walked out the door. I didn't go to work. I went to Daniel's building. Not to knock. Not to confront. Just to verify. I parked across the street and waited. 10 minutes in, I saw her car. Not Claire's usual, the black CRV, but the older sedan we kept for emergencies. One she hadn't driven in months. She'd parked it here. Smart. Out of view. Forgettable. At 8:24, Daniel walked out of the building. Alone. Sunglasses. Coffee in hand. No kiss goodbye. No glance back. I didn't need to follow him. Instead, I went home, sat at my desk, and launched a forensic email recovery tool I'd bought months ago but never used. I'd installed it on our home router, silent, passive, waiting. It indexed metadata across all connected devices. I ran the scan. Claire's laptop, phone, and tablet came up. Encrypted, of course, but metadata doesn't lie. Between midnight and 2 a.m., messages had been sent. Photos too. Over Wi-Fi. Not mobile. They were never at Haley's. They were here. In town. In Daniel's apartment. I printed the metadata, stapled the pages, and slid them into a new envelope marked Day 2. Then I packed a bag and booked a suite under a fake name at a business hotel downtown. Not to hide. To think. Claire texted that night. Can we talk? I love you. I messed up, but I can explain. I turned off notifications and opened a second document titled Exit Timeline. Step 1. Protect assets. Step 2. Collect undeniable proof. Step 3. Let her lie again. Step 4. Detonate. But I needed leverage first. Legal, financial, personal. Claire had made mistakes, but I knew if I struck too soon, she'd paint herself as the victim. I couldn't afford that. So I sent a message to someone I hadn't spoken to in 2 years. Melanie, Claire's ex-best friend. They'd fallen out after Melanie got drunk at our engagement party and told Claire's parents she wasn't ready to settle. Claire cut her off immediately. But I remembered Melanie had once confided in me. Told me she thought Claire had a thing with Daniel before we were married. I wrote, hey, I know it's been a while. I need to ask you something about Claire and Daniel. It's important. She replied 10 minutes later. Thought you'd never ask. Melanie had receipts. Old screenshots. Voicemails. Photos from a work retreat where Claire and Daniel were far too close. The affair had started a year into our marriage. Long before the late nights, before the shift. Melanie sent it all. Said she hated seeing me used. I thanked her, transferred $500 to her Venmo with no note, and saved everything to a drive marked Claire, Phase 2. Then, I made an appointment with a lawyer named Franklin Briggs. Reputation, clean, aggressive, discreet. I laid out the folder, the metadata, the texts, and the old messages from Melanie. I didn't ask what could be done. I asked how cleanly we could do it. Franklin nodded slowly. You've got leverage. A lot of it. Depending how you want to play this, we can walk her into a settlement that leaves her stripped. What if she refuses? He smirked. Then we litigate. She won't survive it. I left the office lighter. Claire still hadn't confessed, which was perfect. That night, I went back home. Bag in hand. Calm face. Played it like I just needed space. She cried. Said she'd been scared. Said I meant everything to her. She didn't bring up Daniel. I didn't ask. Instead, I cooked dinner. Steak. Asparagus. Her favorite wine. She smiled across the table like we were healing. At 10:03 p.m., she showered. While she was in the bathroom, I plugged in a flash drive and cloned her laptop. Fast. Quiet. No traces. I left the wine open, made sure her glass was full, and acted like everything was fine. She came out in a robe, hair wet. "Thank you," she whispered. "For dinner. For not giving up on me." I smiled. Then I poured myself a drink, walked outside to the patio, and began uploading everything to a secure server. Tomorrow, I'd test one final theory. Because Daniel wasn't the only secret Claire was keeping. She'd left a trail. I just needed to follow it to the end. The next morning, I scheduled a delivery, flowers, chocolates, and a handwritten note. "Thank you for being patient with me. Let's start fresh." I signed it with my name and sent it to Claire's office. It wasn't an apology. It was bait. Claire loved spectacle. She'd post it. She'd brag. She'd believe I was reattached, vulnerable again. That's when people slip. That's when truth spills. By noon, the post was up. A photo of the bouquet, captioned, "After everything, he still chooses me. I guess love wins." Hashtag blessed, hashtag second chances, and, most tellingly, hashtag clean start. That last one told me she'd buried the evidence. Or tried to. What she didn't know was that the flash drive had picked up more than metadata. It grabbed a full mirror of her hard drive, including a folder she'd renamed Taxes 2022. Inside, dozens of videos, screen recordings, messages, even saved audio logs. She'd been documenting things for a while. Not just her affair, but commentary on our life, our finances, even her plans. One video, dated 3 months ago, showed her screen recording a spreadsheet. Claire talking over it, softly, like she was rehearsing for a conversation. "By the time the divorce goes through, I'll have the condo, the SUV, and the investments in my name. He won't contest. He's too nice." She laughed. Another clip, this one audio only. Claire on the phone. "Daniel doesn't even have to divorce yet. I just need the account moved. Once that clears, we can talk options. He still thinks I'm staying for love." Not clear who she was talking about, me or Daniel. Maybe both. At 3 p.m., I went back to Franklin Briggs. Showed him the videos. "We hold," he said. "Wait for her to file. Once she does, we freeze her claims. Then we counter with this. Clean sweep." But I had a better idea. That night, I sat down with Claire. Made dinner again. Watched a movie. Held her hand. Then I asked her, "What do you think about taking a little trip next month?" She lit up. "Somewhere warm." I nodded. "Exactly. Fresh start." We planned it over wine. She laughed. Touched my arm. Talked about beaches and sunsets. The next morning, I called Daniel. He didn't answer. So I sent a message. "She's playing you too. You're not the only one she's promised a future." 30 minutes later, he replied, "Meet?" We did. Neutral location. Daylight. He looked 10 years older than the last time I saw him. Guilt eats fast. I handed him a flash drive. "Watch that. All of it." He nodded, silent. He didn't argue. That night, Claire came home late. Claimed traffic. I said nothing. Just watched. 3 days passed. Then, on a Thursday, she sat me down. Her voice fake shaky. "I've been thinking about our marriage. Maybe we need some space." There it was. The signal. I nodded. "I think you're right." She didn't expect agreement. That threw her. "I'll move into the guest room for now," she offered. "No," I said. "I'll move out. You keep the house. Temporarily." That night, I packed a bag, just the essentials, and left. What she didn't know was that Franklin had already filed a motion to secure all financial assets under injunctive hold. Everything in both names, frozen. Her accounts, audited. Her investments, tied to mine. And mine were shielded behind 6 layers of trusts. She'd feel it by Monday. But the real end came Saturday. A courier arrived at her door with a box. Inside, printouts of her audio files, screenshots from Daniel confirming everything, and a signed declaration of intent to file for divorce, with full grounds. Public, legal, irrefutable. The final touch? An invitation. A dinner. One she'd be attending alone. At 7 p.m., she walked into the same restaurant where we'd celebrated our 2nd anniversary. I'd booked it in her name. Inside were 3 people, Daniel's wife, Melanie, and a reporter from a local paper, investigating fraud claims at Claire's company. I watched from a distance as her world collapsed. No screaming. No public meltdown. Just the realization that every step she took had been anticipated. The next morning, she called me 5 times. Then 10. Then she stopped. 2 weeks later, divorce papers were signed. She got nothing. Not the condo. Not the SUV. Not the accounts. Daniel vanished from her life. Melanie, Vindicated, published everything. Names redacted, but the city's whispers filled in the blanks. Claire's reputation shattered quietly. Not with scandal, but with silence. As for me, I bought a place upstate. No social media, no signals, just clean air and control. They say betrayal breaks people. Not me. It forged me. Because trust, once weaponized, doesn't just cut deep. It cuts clean.